Sorry Superman, DC's first superhero is way more obscure than the Man of Steel. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's creation of Superman for DC Comics is often seen as the starting point for the superhero genre of comics. However, contrary to popular belief, this isn't actually the starting point, nor is the Ultrahumanite the company's first villain, despite having that reputation. Those honors go to far more obscure characters from DC's golden age. When DC Comics, formerly National Allied Publications, began publishing comics in 1935, it didn't actually get right into the publishing of superhero stories. Instead, like other comics publishers of the era, it focused on Western, adventure, and comedy stories. When Siegel and Shuster presented the company with Superman in 1938, it wasn't expected to become a hit, though once the sales figures for Action Comics #1 came in, the company realized the character was a huge success. From there on, the superhero genre began to climb to the top of the comic book industry. However, Superman's first appearance actually wasn't the first superhero story. DC's first foray into the superhero genre came in 1935 from a serialized story in the pages of New Fun Comics, later More Fun Comics, New Book of Comics and the Comics magazine. In these comics, the first superheroes, Zatter and Dr. Occult, and their arch-nemesis, Koth, made their debut. Dr. Occult's very first appearance is in a story by Siegel and Shuster from 1935's New Fun #6. The iconic Superman creators chose to be credited using a loose anagram of their names, Ledger and Ruths. Who is Dr. Occult, DC's first superhero? The story of Dr. Occult is retold and expanded upon in the pages of 1987's Secret Origins #17, where it is explained that the demon Koth was summoned forth by a cult of Satanists. When the cultists realized that the wrong entity had arrived, the characters were all slaughtered, but for their 2 infant human sacrifices. The babies were taken by Zatter, a servant of the secret order known as the Seven. This order of supernatural beings was dedicated to the defeat of Koth. They raised the children, who grew up into Dr. Occult and Rose Psychic. As an adult, Dr. Occult joins Zatter and the Seven in battle against Koth and his army in the mystical realm of the astral plane. There, he appeared in a uniform given to him by the Seven, a costume that utilized design elements that would later be echoed in characters like Shazam and Superman. Despite the common belief that Superman and Ultrahumanite constituted the first hero-slash-villain rivalry, Occult, Zatter, and Koth actually have the right to that title. All 3 have since become obscure, and the Man of Steel certainly does deserve credit for popularizing superheroes, he just wasn't the first. Because Dr. Occult and Zatter were created, interestingly enough, by Siegel and Shuster themselves, they can be looked upon as early prototypes for the caped superhero, albeit ones who relied on magic, whereas Superman benefited from his alien DNA. However, in order to fit in more with the standard stories being published at the time, Occult was redesigned into an occult detective, with a design reminiscent of Will Eisner's Spirit. So, by the time Superman was created, he was a unique sight, with his predecessor having faded into obscurity.
Row 18, plot 20.